Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum. I am Miss Nargis Fatma, lecturer from Zoology Department, Pias College, Kasur, as a co-teacher of course Evolution and Principles of Systematic. Main teacher is Dr. Muhammad Mudassir Shehzad from Division of Science and Technology, University of Education, Lahore. Our today's topic is Fisher's view of natural selection. All the rights of this lecture are transferred to the University of Education, Lahore. Now let's start the lecture. Now I will discuss the concept of modern selection. It states that in a population, some individuals are more successful than others in passing along their genes into the next generation. Reasons. There are certain reasons. For example, some organisms die before they reach a reproductive age. Some organisms fail to find a mate. Among those individuals that do breed, there are differences in the number of offspring produced. The result of these differences means that, for one reason or the other, there is a differential rate of reproduction among members of a population. We call this simply selection. Now, selection patterns. Selection is defined as some sort of functional relationship between fitness and phenotype, and we can easily describe fitness in terms of three kinds of curves. Now discuss them one by one. Directional selection. Directional selection is the one in which the trait is linearly related to fitness. In stabilizing selection is the trait there is an optimal value for the trait of interest. Disruptive selection, in which individuals with smallest and largest values of the trait have the highest fitness and individuals with intermediate values are at fitness disadvantage. Now I will discuss the three modes of selection in this diagram. Here you can see that uh, directional selection, disruptive selection, stabilizing selection. Now, first of all, directional selection. It occurs when individuals at one phenotypic extreme are selected against. It shifts the phenotypic distribution towards the advantageous phenotype. Industrial melanism is a classic example of directional selection which occurred in England during the Industrial Revolution. Museum records and experiments document how environmental changes affected selection against one type of peppered more distant bacteria. Now, the second type of selection, i.e., disruptive selection. And disruptive selection occurs when an intermediate phenotype is selected against. It produces distinct subpopulations. Now, if we consider an example of the population of snail with a range of shell colors between white and dark brown and living in a marine tide pool habitat with two background colors. Thus, the disruptive selection could produce distinct subpopulations of these two, i.e., one white and one brown. Now, the stabilizing selection. Stabilizing selection occurs when individuals at both phenotypic extremes are selected against, as you can see in the diagram. It narrows at both ends of the range, like here. Arrows indicate the selection against one or more phenotypes. The x-axis of each graph indicates the range of phenotypes for the trait in question. Now, the example of stabilizing selection. A good example is the horseshoe crab, Limulus, which lives along the Atlantic coast of United States. Comparison of the fossil record with living forms indicates that this body form has changed little over 200 million years. Apparently, the combination of characteristics present in this group of animals is adaptive for the horseshoe crab's environment. Now, different modes of selection on traits. As we know that natural selection occurs whenever some phenotypes are more successful at leaving offspring than other phenotypes. For certain traits, many populations have a range of phenotypes characterized by a bell-shaped curve that shows that phenotypic extremes are less common than the intermediate phenotypes. Natural selection may affect a range of phenotypes in three ways, i.e. directional selection, number two is stabilizing selection and number थ्री is disruptive selection. इसमें हम देख सकते हैं तमाम ग्राफ्स में कि ये आपको दिखाया गया है ओरिजिनल डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन ऑफ फिनोटाइप्स विद इन अ पॉपुलेशन जो कि स्टार्ट में है, ठीक है। और हम इन जो फिनोटाइप्स जो हैं उनको हम बेल शेप कर्व की फॉर्म में शो करते हैं। उसके बाद है बिफोर सिलेक्शन। सिलेक्शन से पहले आप देख सकते हैं जो एक्सट्रीम है रेंज ऑफ फिनोटाइप्स इन ग्राफ्स में आपको ये है डायरेक्शनल सिलेक्शन में जो कि एक वन साइड पे है, और जो रेंज ऑफ फिनोटाइप्स स्टेबलाइजिंग सिलेक्शन में एट बोथ एक्सट्रीम्स है। और अगर हम बात करें डिस्ट्रप्टिव सिलेक्शन की तो रेंज ऑफ एक्सट्रीम जो है वो इंटरमीडिएट है। तो आफ्टर सिलेक्शन जो फिनोटाइप्स हैं, देखिए कि अगर आप डायरेक्शन में देखें तो जो कर्व है जो वो मूव कर चुकी है टुवर्ड्स द एडवांटेजियस फिनोटाइप। और अगर हम बात करें स्टेबलाइजिंग सिलेक्शन की तो आप देखें कि बोथ एक्सट्रीम पे सिलेक्ट होगी है फिनोटाइप। लेकिन अगर इंटरमीडिएट की बात करें तो जो आपको कर्व नजर आ रही है यहाँ आप देख सकते हैं कि जो है टू सब पॉपुलेशंस जो हैं वो अराइज हो गए। Now the question arises that how does the trait change? Now in this picture you can see that this is the directional selection graph and this is the graph for stabilizing selection and this is the graph for disruptive selection. Here, directional selection, you can see that it is for one extreme trait and it is against the other extreme, as you can see in the graph. Now, here it is for moderate trait and it is against both extremes. Now, for a disruptive selection graph, you can see that it is for both extremes and against moderate trait. Now, as you can see that the extensively long wiggly tails look like a snake and scare predators. The longer the tail, the more it looks like a snake. इसका मतलब ये है कि जितनी ज़्यादा जो स्नेक टेल है वो लॉन्ग होगी उतना ज़्यादा जो है वो प्रेडेटर्स जो हैं वो डरेंगे और जो है ये फ़ायदा देगा एनिमल को टुवर्ड्स सिलेक्शन, ठीक है। तो नेचुरली जो एनिमल्स हैं विद लॉन्ग टेल वो सेलेक्ट हो जाएंगे। अगर हम बात करें स्टेबलाइजिंग सिलेक्शन में, अगर आप यहाँ देखें कैट की डायग्राम में तो यहाँ आपको जो है टेल नज़र आ रही होगी, ठीक है। ये शॉर्ट टेल है, ये लॉन्ग टेल है और ये जो है मीडियम टेल है। तो अगर हम बात करें जो शॉर्ट टेल की तो शॉर्ट टेल्स जो हैं वो मैस अप द कैट्स बैलेंस, और अगर बात करें लॉन्ग टेल्स की तो ड्रैग ऑन द ग्राउंड, तो ये भी प्रॉब्लमेटिक है और ये भी प्रॉब्लमेटिक है। तो फिर इन दोनों में से जो बेस्ट है वो मीडियम टेल्स आर द बेस्ट। नाउ इधर अगर हम बात करें डिस्ट्रप्टिव सिलेक्शन में तो आप देख सकते हैं कि ये स्क्रल्स हैं, तो जो एक्सट्रीमली जो टेल जो बहुत ज़्यादा लॉन्ग है और जो बहुत ज़्यादा शॉर्ट है, ठीक है। तो अगर हम देखें तो जो है शॉर्ट जो टेल है एक्सट्रीमली शॉर्ट वो हेल्प करती है प्रेडेटर्स को फ्रॉम कैचिंग यू ऑन द ग्राउंड, और जो लॉन्ग टेल है आर गुड फॉर बैलेंस इन ट्रीज। तो फिर मीडियम जो टेल है डज नॉट हेल्प। तो इन इस केस में जो मीडियम टेल है वो किसी काम की नहीं है, तो फिर जो बोथ एक्सट्रीम्स हैं वो सिलेक्ट होगी, मीन्स लॉन्ग टेल स्क्वेरल एंड शॉर्ट टेल स्क्वेरल. Now, selection on discrete versus continuous characters. When phenotypes fall into discrete classes, we can think of selection acting directly on genotypes. Such discrete traits are usually coded by one or a few genes or loci. For example, Mendel's yellow versus green peas. However, when phenotypes fall into a continuum because they are encoded by many loci, you will see changes in the distributions of traits. Continuous traits such as those Darwin examined, beak shape, body size, hair color, etc. And such traits are called quantitative traits. Now, distribution of discrete versus continuous traits. Discrete traits. Traits that occur in discrete categories. As you can see in this graph, the frequency in a population of e.g. height, this is trait 1 and this is trait 2. Other examples include Mendel's trait, e.g. green and yellow peas, wrinkled and smooth peas. These are encoded by a single loci. Also, discrete traits encoded by multiple loci, e.g. finger number, clutch size. Now comes to continuous traits. Traits that vary along a continuum. Most traits. For example, body size, height, IQ, blood pressure, milk yield, fat content, feather color, beak shape, limb length, hair color, etc. Look at this graph. In this you can see the phenotype of height, and this is in a continuum manner. The bell-shaped curve shows a continuum manner. Now, directional selection. Directional selection occurs when individuals at one phenotypic extreme are at a disadvantage compared to all other individuals in the population. In response to this selection, the deleterious gene or genes decreases in the frequency and all other genes increase in frequency. It may occur when a mutation gives rise to a new gene or when the environment changes to select against an existing phenotype. This selection favors an extreme phenotype and causes a shift in allele frequencies towards that direction. Genetic diversity is reduced at the relevant loci, e.g. knock out maladaptive genotypes. As in this diagram, you can see the original distribution of a phenotype in a population. This is the phenotype before selection, and you can see the phenotype has been moved or shifted towards the advantageous phenotype as the curve of the graph has moved forward. Now comes to the example. Drug resistance in tuberculosis and HIV. If we talk about the agriculture sector, artificial selection for specific traits, sexual selection for a trait, e.g. for bright plumage, peacock tail. Now, here's an example of directional selection. Look at the population of the mice. Dark brown coloration arises by a new mutation. Dark brown fur makes the mouse less susceptible to predation. The dark brown mouse has a higher fitness, Darwinian fitness, than do the tan mice. Look at the graph. Here's the number of the individuals, and here is the light fur and dark fur. This slope of the phenotype is showing the slope at the start of the population. Now, after many generations, you can see that this population has a higher mean fitness than the starting population because the darker mice are less susceptible to predation and are therefore more likely to survive and reproduce. Now, if we have a look at the graph, you can see that the slope for fur color has moved towards the advantageous phenotype. This is after the directional selection has been occurred. You can see in this graph that the directional selection has occurred when individuals at one phenotypic extreme are selected against, as I have discussed earlier. It shifts the phenotypic distribution towards the advantageous phenotype for mice and is an example of effect of natural selection on a continuous trait, i.e. color of fur in mice. Now, some examples of directional selection. Directional selection in HIV in response to humans. The other example is directional selection of the peppered moth, distal Betularia. Now, directional selection on pathogens imposed by drug. AZT. Azithromycin is a thiamine mimic which stops reverse transcriptation. Mutations in the reverse transcriptase gene of HIV arises such that the enzyme can recognize AZT. Here is the molecular structure of azithromycin. The drugs impose selection on the virus. Genetic variation generated by mutations allows the virus to respond to selection and evolve drug resistance. Now in this diagram you can see the viral showing in three different colors, i.e. orange, green and blue. The viral shown in the orange color is susceptible to azithromycin, while the viral shown in the green color is partially resistant to azithromycin, and the viral in the blue color is highly resistant to azithromycin. Now as the mutation occurs, the errors in reverse transcription generate a variable population. Some variants differ in resistance to azithromycin. Now, resistance or susceptibility is passed from parents to offspring. And during the treatment with azithromycin, many variants fail to reproduce. The variants that persist are the ones that can reproduce in the presence of azithromycin. In the presence of azithromycin, natural selection favors mutants that are resistant to azithromycin, believed to have slow or careful enzymes. Results in percentage in the population towards higher percentage of azithromycin resistant mutants. Now you can see that with the passage of time, the result is that the composition of the population has changed over time. Now, another example of directional selection is of peppered moth, distal Betularia. As you can see that each photo shows two forms of moth, black and grey. In picture A, prior to Industrial Revolution, bird predators easily spotted the black form of moth and the grey form was camouflaged. In picture B, you can see that in industrial regions after the Industrial Revolution, selection was reversed because soot now covered the bark of trees where the moth rested. Now how clearly the grey form is seen whereas the black form is almost invisible. Now here is another example of directional selection of giraffe. A long time ago, the early giraffes had short necks, and as they could not reach the leaves on trees, and they died out. And their offspring had longer necks with the passage of time. And these medium neck giraffes also died out because they could not reach leaves on trees. And the modern giraffes have the longest necks because they are able to reach the leaves of the trees and they therefore prospered. And this is also mentioned in a theory known as Lamarckism proposed by Lamarck and is a good example of directional selection. Now let's have a look at another example of directional selection of modern horses. A long time ago, small horses died and it was very disadvantageous for them. The medium horses also died and it was also disadvantageous for them to survive. And the large horses survived, and this was advantageous for them, and they prospered. And as you can see in the graph, that also their size is large as compared to the body size of this dog-sized animal. This is the modern horse, and the size of the modern horse is about as 10 times much bigger than this dog-sized animal. This is an example of directional selection. Now let's have another example of farm turkeys. Turkeys on the poultry farms can no longer mate naturally because their breast muscles have become so largely that artificial insemination is required. Look at the graph. You can easily understand why this is happened. You can see that on the x-axis, relative size of the breast muscles in farm turkeys is shown, and on the y-axis is the proportion of individuals in population. Actually, the farmers select against turkeys with the smaller breast muscles because they are less valuable. And due to this type of selective pressure, the slope moves towards forward, and it causes change in average breast size. As you can see from the slope, also this is the population before the selection, and this is the evolved population. The slope has moved forward. It is a good example of directional selection. Let's discuss another example of directional selection, i.e. of salmon. Salmon have large population size and shorter generation time. Due to this reason, they produce many offsprings. And for this reason, the amount of genetic variation from both the recombination and mutation increased. In 1950 to 1974, due to gill net fishing in Upper Johnstone Strait, the average weight of salmon decreased by one third. Therefore, the smaller salmon more likely to escape and contribute to the next generation. As you can see in this graph. So the that here the directional selection works. Now another example of directional selection is of Darwin finches. Darwin studied what later became known as directional selection while he was in the Galapagos Islands. He observed that the beak length of the Galapagos finches changed over time due to available food sources. मतलब जितने भी वहाँ पे उस वक्त अवेलेबल फूड सोर्सेज थे बर्ड्स के लिए, उनकी वजह से जो चेंज ऑब्जर्व किया डार्विन ने कि उनकी बर्ड्स की बीक की जो लेंथ है या उसकी साइज में चेंज आ चुका है. When there was a lack of insects to eat, finches with larger and deeper beaks survived because the beak structure was useful for cracking seeds. Over time, as insects became more plentiful, directional selection began to favor finches with smaller and longer beaks that were more useful for catching insects. So as you can see in this slope, the slope has moved forward. Another example of directional selection is of black bears. Fossil records showed that black bears in Europe decreased in size during periods between continental glacial coverage during the ice ages, but increased in size during the glacial period. This was likely because larger individuals enjoyed an advantage under conditions of limited food supplies and extreme cold. So that's why the variation in phenotype occurs. Now the stabilizing selection. Selection that favors intermediate trait values. The average trait values stays the same. Genetic diversity is reduced at the relevant loci. Examples: selection for an optimal number of fingers. Number 2, selection for optimal body size. Number 3, selection for optimal number of offspring. Here is in this graph you can see that at the both extremes of the phenotype, the intermediate phenotypes are favored, and the slope of the phenotype is showing that the phenotypes after selection is intermediate. Now the example of stabilizing selection, coloration of snails. You can see in this graph that the coloration of a snail is shown on x-axis, and on y-axis is the number of individuals. Now as the slope shows two extremes, one is for light snails and the second is for dark snails. Both the extremes are eliminated, and after the natural selection you can see the shape of the slope. It is narrowed from both ends, and this means that the average remains the same, and it eliminates the fringe individuals. It's an example of stabilizing selection. Another example of stabilizing selection is rabbit leg length. Too short leg length means that the rabbit can run too slow, and the rabbits who have too long length cannot run sharp corners or get under cover as easily. Therefore, the mid size are the just right one, and as you can see, most rabbits have. So, in this case, it is clear that the both extremes are eliminated. So, this is a good example of stabilizing selection. Another example of stabilizing selection is of oyster. Very light colored or very dark colored oysters might be more frequently preyed upon by shorebirds, simply because they are more obviously seen on the oyster bar. As the result, the intermediate hues become more common. So it's as you can see also in the graph, this is the stabilizing selection. Another example of stabilizing selection is birth weight of human baby. As you can see in this graph, on x-axis is the birth weight of human baby is shown, and on y-axis proportion of individuals in the population is shown. You can also see the bell-shaped slope of the graph. Now here you can see that the babies with low birth weights are more vulnerable to complications. So the population before selection, and here is the evolved population. The other selection pressure on the second extreme shows that the babies with high birth weights are more vulnerable to complications. So these two are the extremes, and the shape of the or the range of the slope has been narrowed, so the average remains the same. This is a good example of stabilizing selection. Another example of stabilizing selection is the size of the flowers. Too short flowers died out because as no sunlight reached to them, while the medium flowers live because they have the perfect conditions, while the tall flowers die out as well because the wind damaged them. So it's also an example of stabilizing selection. Now let's discuss another example of cactus supine density of stabilizing selection. Cacti have two sets of predators, i.e. Peccaries and parasitic insects. Peccaries which like to eat cactus fruit with fewer spines, as you can see in the diagram, and the parasitic insects which like cacti that have very dense spines to keep their predators away. Successful long-lived cacti have an average number of spines to help ward both of them. So this is a good example of stabilizing selection. Now discuss an other example of the stabilizing selection, i.e. of hummingbird. The birds with the longer bills require more nutrients and energy to grow and carry around. Shorter bill birds reduce birds' ability to reach food, while the ideal bill length also increases pollination, increases flower pollination, increases success of hummingbirds, increase success of flowers, etc. As you can also see in the graph that here is the slope of the selection, and it is narrows down on both extremes. So the range of Bill's length is narrowed down, and the average remains the same. Another example of stabilizing selection. When both phenotypic extremes are deleterious, then the natural selection narrows the phenotypic range. As you can see, the narrowing of range in this graph for the selection of an optimal number of eggs in a bird, you can see that the stabilizing selection narrows the phenotype at both ends of the range. This is the slope of phenotype for the starting of the population, and this is after the stabilizing selection. As we know that stabilizing selection maintains an already existing system. It eliminates organisms to deviate from the norm. For stabilizing selection to occur, environment must remain unchanged. A famous example is of horseshoe crab, i.e. Limulus. Here in this diagram, you can see the crab. It is a good example because the horseshoe crab, which lives along the Atlantic coast of United States, the comparison of the fossil record with living forms indicates that this body form has changed little over 200 million years. Apparently, the combination of characteristics present in this group of animals is adaptive for the horseshoe crab's environment, and this explains why there are living fossils. Now, disruptive selection. Disruptive selection favors the extremes. Genetic diversity is increased, favors novel beneficial alleles, knockout alleles that code for intermediate traits, can lead to the formation of new species. Now, as in this diagram, you can see that the slope of the phenotype has been divided into two subpopulations. For example, niches partnering, specialization on different resources, food, differences in habitat use, sexual selection for different traits, blue birds mate with blue, red birds mate with red, intermediate colors selected against. Now, disruptive selection. In this diagram, you can see the growth of Agrostis tenuis on uncontaminated and contaminated soil. Plants on uncontaminated soil do not usually carry metal-resistant alleles, while plants on contaminated soil are likely to carry metal-resistant alleles. Now look at the graph that the slope of the phenotype is like bell-shaped curve before the starting of the population, and after the disruptive selection has occurred in the population, the shape of the slope has been changed and divided into two slopes. This shows that two subpopulations has been occurred in the population after disruptive selection. Now let's discuss another example of hummingbird beak length. Hummingbird in an environment with deep and shallow flowers. Short beak. Hummingbird leaf can get pollen from flowers, while medium beak hummingbird dies because they cannot get pollen from flower. Long beak hummingbirds live because they can get pollen. Now, here is another example of disruptive selection, i.e. of rabbit fur color. Rabbit in an environment with black and white rocks. White rabbit lives because it becomes able to camouflage. Gray rabbit dies because it is seen by the predators easily. Black rabbit lives because it is also able to be camouflaged. So it's a good example of disruptive selection. Now another example of disruptive selection is black-billed seed cracker finch. Depends on two seeds of different types of sedge, i.e. soft and hard. Small for soft sedge, and the larger bill is for hard seeds. The environment has strongly favored the evolution of two types of bill sizes among the black-bellied seed-cracker finches. They display variations in bill sizes, but during the dry season, survival is limited to narrow the size ranges, as the orange bar indicates. This is an observable product of disruptive natural selection. Now let's discuss another example of disruptive selection, i.e. Coho salmon. Here is the Coho salmon. Now in this graph you can see the relative size of male Coho salmon is shown on x-axis, and on y-axis is the proportion of individuals in population. Now, as you can see in the graph is the bell-shaped slope, which indicates that the selection pressure is acting upon. Medium-sized fish get out-competed for territory by larger fish. Smaller fish are able to sneak in and fertilize eggs before being detected. So, as a result of this selection pressure, two subpopulations became evolved. As you can clearly see in this graph, two slopes in blue colors, i.e., is the smaller and the larger. So, two subpopulations have evolved. This is an example of disruptive selection. Now let's discuss another example of disruptive selection, i.e. Mexican spad-toed tadpoles. Spad-foot tadpoles have higher populations in the extremes of their shape, with each type having a more dominant eating pattern. The more omnivorous individuals are round-bodied, and the more carnivorous are narrow-bodied. The intermediate types are smaller, less well-fed than those at either extreme of body shape and eating habitat. यहाँ पे आप डायग्राम में देख भी सकते हैं, ये टू टाइप्स के मॉब्स दिखाए गए हैं, omnivore लेफ्ट साइड पे एंड कार्निवोर मॉब राइट साइड. A study found that those at the extremes had additional alternate food resources that the intermediates did not. The more omnivorous one fed more effectively on pond detritus, and the more carnivorous one were better at feeding on shrimps. Intermediate types competed with each other for food, resulting in individuals with ability on extremes to eat more and grow faster and better. Now, to make the lecture more interesting, let's have some examples how to identify the type of selection. These examples will help you to understand the topic. Now, look at the diagram. Here is the anteater. Anteaters have not always had the extremely long tongues they use now. Over the last 10 million years, their tongues have become impressively long. So, the question is that what type of selection probably is working here? The answer is simple. It's the directional one, as the one extreme is eliminated. Now look at this diagram. It's of oak tree, and these are the acorn of oak tree. Oak trees have differentiated into species that produce many sizes of acorns. Question is, if there is a population of oak tree that has variation in acorn size, a new squirrel population moves into the community and tends to select the medium-sized acorns. So, which type of selection it is? The answer is very simple. It's disruptive because the average is eliminated. Now, the third and last one is about the rabbits. Rabbits have only a temperament that allows them to sit still most of the time, but also allows them to get up and move before a predator gets too close. Rabbits that wait too long are removed from the gene pool. Rabbits that tend to move all the time are spotted by predators and eliminated with ease. So the question is, which type of selection it is? The answer is again very simple. It is stabilizing selection as both extremes are eliminated. Thank you. And that's all about today's lecture.